which is funny. Okay.
I don't know who that is. Okay, we're live on Facebook with
Yay,
Martha. And yay, I just want to, for all of you that don't know what I'm doing here, I'm Tanya Milano Snell, parent coach, and I am highlighting all of these wonderful families that are consciously living and creating a family that's intentional, and how we conscious parent differently across the board. So Home in the Home Revolution is launching, and I'm super excited to talk with Martha today. So to start off, just introduce yourself, and then can you just tell us like how your family is built, like your structure in your home right now?
Yeah.
Who's in it?
Sure. Yeah. So for those that don't know who I am, no big deal. My name's Martha Krejci. That's how you pronounce all of those consonants together really close in one little word. And that's what I do is I teach families how to create multiple income streams from home utilizing stuff they already know. So right now, what it really looks like in our business anyway, is we're looking at a lot of people that are facing the Great Resignation, and people are really like, we're seeing a shift in the world of people deciding that they're going to live differently, which is why I love what you're doing, Tanya. I mean, it's so important because it goes hand in hand with everything that the shift in everything that's going on right now. How we have structured our family is we haven't structured our family. that's the biggest part of what we do around here. We bob and weave, like it's kind of, whenever you look at radical homeschooling, while we don't homeschool our daughter right now anyway, it's the concept is the same. It's what are we driven to through curiosity? What are we curious about as a family? How does Nora, which is our daughter, how does she show up in our family, and the way that we work as a family unit is we're a team. And even our 7-year-old is part of the team, and she just turned 7, right? So she's like a borderline 6-7 right now. And she's even part of the team. And so while we run a really big business from home, Nora is part of it. And her part of it is, okay, let mommy work for just a minute, and then we're going to come out and we're going to snuggle. It's the structure is that there is no structure. The structure is that we're always attuning and listening to each other's needs, and in the moment, bobbing and weaving where those needs are. So Mike, my husband, is very, very, very good. He's like a major empath, okay? He's really good at being able to tell when I need support. And so he's able to fill in the gaps. He'll, take Nora to the park or something like that when I just need to go lay down in my room and just chill for a minute, because like I go. And then there are times where it's like, I just need to take a nap. And so he supports me there. And then I support him in where, I hang out, like Nora and I will go somewhere and hang out, but we spend most of our time together as a family, and we're just goofing off. We're having fun. We're snuggling. We're, like that's what our structure is that there isn't one.
Yeah. I just resonate with a bunch of stuff you say about, no structure. And that's scary to a lot of people when you're right. Like, well, What do I do then with my, parenting? We were conditioned to come into parenting, we've got to teach them these things. We've got to open their brain, put all this stuff in, and kids just don't work that way. We've been conditioned to kind of shame ourselves on not following the rules and not doing X, Y, and Z the way it's supposed to be done. And a lot of conscious parents feel really alone and isolated in this journey. And so Home in the Home Revolution is a place for us all to come together and feel like people get us, right? Like, and that word attuning that you used, that's really what really strong is. That's where I help moms and dads with their emotional regulation, because if we don't regulate, like you said, naps, what does each person in the family need? Then we can attune right? To
Yeah.
what's happening right now. Why,
Yeah.
why is my 7-year-old like really like, acting that way? Well, let's figure it out. Behavior is communication. So
Yeah.
so much gold in what you just said. Um, Ohm in the Home revolution, like I said, is a place for us to not feel alone in this. And you've been a huge part of my journey to my home business. And the reason I left the teaching field, all these things were not fitting in my being. And like you said, changing education, bobbing and weaving. Right now, my kids are in public school. It wasn't always that way. They were home with me for a while. I did nature preschool with them, teaching. So it's really about figuring out what works for your family. And could you talk a little bit more about what you mean by home-based business and how it can be a team? Because some
Yeah.
people, like, how do you bring your kids into this and how do you become a team? What does that mean to you running a business?
Yeah. You don't realize you're doing something so disruptive when you're just following your soul. When you're just doing what you feel like you need to do, you don't realize you're really disrupting entire industries in doing that. It is naturally disruptive to follow your soul, by the way. You're naturally disrupting when you do that. But so the home-based, what that comes around to is having a home-based business is, running your business from home, but really whenever you run your business from home, you can run it from anywhere. Usually if you have a Wi-Fi signal, you can run your business from wherever. But what it looks like to have your kids and your entire family as part of your team is that you build a brand essentially around your experience in life. It breaks down to that. So how do you show up in the world? What do you want for the world around you? What are what are your own relationships like in your family? What are the fun things? And what are sort of like the like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this again things. All of that stuff creates a brand. And so our entire family is our brand. I mean, you would see my girl on, like in the background of a video or something, and you would have backstory on her, right? She's not just a random person where you would be like, who's that? You'd be like, oh, there she is, like it's our family is the brand. And that's what all of us can do. The cool thing is that we have spent so long as a culture and as a society where we have been, how do I say this? We've been putting a wet blanket on ourselves and our own creative natures in order to be able to work for different corporations and things like that. Essentially, we've been building up massive corporations instead of building up our own family's values, our own individual values, and then of course our family's values with all of those woven together. And so all of the time that we've been building up these corporations, working these 40, 60, 80-hour a week jobs where we're away from our family, which the jobs typically don't even pay our bills. I mean, let's call it, most Americans anyway don't even have $200 in their savings account. That's not security, right? It's a narrative that there's security, but there's not. So what we're doing is we're bringing it back to, and the way that I look at it is it's kind of tribal mentality. It's the going back to the good old days, like the good old days, the days where you worked with somebody else in your tribe because they were known for that thing. And then there was somebody else in your group of people that was known for something else. And you all start working with each other and supporting each other. This was before big corporations and the Industrial Revolution ever happened. That was probably one of the worst things that actually happened for individuals. They lost themselves in these massive corporations. Well, what we're doing is you bring that back into more of a tribal mentality. And so now, it gives a little more perspective to family brands, because now our family has a flavor. Because whenever you looked at families in the 1800s, I'm sorry, I have something in my throat. When you look at families like in the 1800s and before that, hang on.
Yeah.
They were known for something. If your last name was Smith,
Yeah.
it was because you were a Smith.
Mhm.
You know, like that was, if your last name was Taylor, you were a tailor. You
Mhm.
did that, you tailored shoes and things like that. Like that was, that you had a family brand. Now,
My daughter's name is Taylor. So,
oh,
and my husband's grandfather's name was Taylor. So apparently there was probably some tailoring in our family at some point.
Krejci means tailor in Czech.
Oh,
That's
wow.
it.
See,
Literally.
there's this attuning, Martha, that you do with your clients that I know that you get us somehow. It just comes up.
That's
And
it.
the part about this tribe, coming together and using each other's skills. I mean, Home-Based Revolution is that, like your program. And I have met people that can fill in my gaps, right? Like my strengths are my strengths, and I need other people to do the things that I just can't do. And that's what a family is for, right? Like,
Yes.
we need each other, and we don't live in that structure anymore. We don't live in the extended family structure where we're, someone cooks us dinner. It doesn't have to be the one person every day. So it's really changed since the 1800s, like you said. And we're still living in this school structure that does not work for kids that are gonna, go into. They were trained to sit at their desk and be prepared for this industrial revolution. And there's just so many parents here that need this community on how do we parent these days. So much is different. So
yeah. I think and I think that the biggest thing, and that's why I love your community and your program, the biggest thing that people need is they need community to be around. They need to be able to be the example for their kids, because what we say is one thing, what we do is everything. And so when we're around other people like this community that you've created, so when we're around all of these people where it normalizes this, because like you said earlier, and you're right, it's a lonely road to be the person that doesn't think like everybody else. Right. And so to be doing that is very difficult to sustain when you don't have a community around you saying, hey, you got this, I'm doing it too. Like that's the kind of thing that keeps people going. And so then you're able to be the example, and then your kids see that. And then it's, there's not even a lot of lip service that has to happen at that point.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see this next generation of, Martha Krejci's, the young entrepreneurs, right? Like,
yes,
I didn't understand that was a way the brain works, right? Like, we have an entrepreneurial brain, and I've had it since childhood, and I've judged it, right? Because it wasn't the norm to like bob and weave and you look a certain way when you switch directions and you tell yourself all these things, especially when parenting too. Well, I'm not a good parent because I'm changing what I'm doing all the time. That's a story. That's the narrative.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Martha. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you offer for your offerings, how you serve your people? So we can find you?
Sure thing.
Anybody watching?
Yeah. So I have a program called HBR, Home-Based Revolution. That's where I teach people how to grow multiple income streams from home, utilizing stuff they already know. So that's my biggest community that I have is I'm working with families in there to be able to create this life for themselves so they can be financially sovereign. And then, because my understanding is once we get financially sovereign, what we do is we start living from our hearts. It's one of the only ways to actually be able to do that, because you don't have anxiety around, bills and things like that. Whenever you've got enough money, then you can start living from your soul. So that's HBR. If you want to jump into that, you're welcome to ask Tanya about that.
Yeah, I have a link I can share.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
then
the
soul searching that I've been going through in your program, you know, sometimes you need to dig deep and figure out what is your soul purpose here. So
That's it. That's it.
yeah.
And the beauty is usually it's you and your family. You all share something in the like Venn diagram circles. You've got this centerpiece. And that's the core of your family's brand. And then everybody else kind of branches off. And it's a very cool thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's my gig. It's what I do.
Yeah. And you give away so much in your group as well,
Yeah.
for people that just want to get started. So
Yeah.
it's family, like, what's it called? Legacies?
Families Creating Legacies, Facebook group, Families Creating Legacies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there if you want to get to know Martha some more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you in the program at some point to work with our moms and dads in our conscious living. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, of course. You have the best day. Thanks so much for having me.
Bye for now. Oh, I forgot to press end here.